Hello, and welcome back to the Just Follow Joy podcast. My name is Ariana Joy. I'm your host, and I'm a human design reader and teacher. And today I want to talk about something that I'm just going to say it. A lot of people are not going to like hearing, but honestly, I'm totally okay with that because if you've been struggling to manifest through your design, this is going to be something that could be such a freaking game changer and really helps you break through. So this is here to help you. And that's the only reason why I would share anything on here. It's to empower you, to lift you up. It's not to make you feel bad or like a dummy at all. I was actually going to make this a longer podcast episode where we talk about like troubleshooting your design and the different reasons why things might not look like they're panning out. But honestly, I wanted to cut the fat and just talk about this specific one because this is really the one that's on my mind. And also, before we dive in, I want to say that if you're like, oh, this is not me, I think the issue is something else, that's fine. Only you can know. I just ask that you be honest with yourself because that's the only way that we can really make progress here. And then also, lastly, I would like you to know that I would never call you out without being able to call myself out on that thing because I don't have the balls to do that. If you think I do, you highly overestimate my level of confidence. This is why I could never be a cult leader. I cannot uphold that double standard long enough. Someone would question me and the compound would immediately fall apart. So, not in my future, probably. But one can hope. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, so what I wanted to say was that we all come to human design to know ourselves for different reasons. Most of the people who I work with are like me, where they want to learn about how they're built to operate specifically so that they can see results in their lives, like create specific results they're looking for. So basically, like they're coming to human design for manifestation. And those results can be anything. Like they don't have to be money or success necessarily, but they know, I want this thing. I would love to align with it and have it show up in my life. And they want to do that in a way that feels good and exciting and passionate. I mean, if they didn't, they wouldn't come to a business that's called Just Follow Joy. Let's be honest. So the thing is that when that's not happening for us, especially when we have been following our designs for quite a while, or it feels that way, it's really easy to go, this isn't working. Like I'm following my design and I'm doing what makes me happy. I'm doing what makes me feel good, but this isn't happening. Why won't this just work? And there's this frustration, a lot of this internal tension. Like, God, I want this to work so badly. I want the thing and I want to believe I can do it in my own way, but I just can't. I just don't know if I even believe that anymore, if I ever did. And at this point, I think I'm never going to get there, or at least I'm not going to be able to get there in a way that I want to. And I just feel like I'm keep seeing in my life all the ways that that's true. It's just not working, which I totally get. If you can't tell, that dialogue is pulled directly from my head. And the thing is that if you're in this position, especially if it's been a minute, right, that you've been feeling this way and that you've been struggling with this, I really want you to ask yourself something that might feel a little triggering or annoying or hard or frustrating, which is, am I actually living my design or am I just thinking my design? And what I mean by that is, am I following my strategy in authority, which is literally how we are built to actually manifest? Those are the only to-dos, the only actual action steps we have to take based on our charts. And that's like what's going to help us get into alignment with what we want. Am I doing that? Or am I just aware of what my design is? Like, I just know that this is my design and I'm supposed to be doing this, but I'm not actually implementing it. Because knowing what your design is and actually doing it are two very different things. We just get them confused for one another, which is an issue that happens a lot in life, not just human design. But basically, if you've really been trying and why isn't this working? And I feel so much resistance. It's so hard and impossible and blah. Well, something is going on here. And I'll tell you that what we're talking about today, is actually a pretty big one. Let's talk about why this happens for us and why we can have such a hard time realizing it's happening too, because that's really going to help us here and give us some awareness. So the thing about human design that you have to understand is it's a system that's full of so many wonderful things that you can learn. You can learn so much about yourself, your traits, your gifts, your challenges that you might come up against, how you're designed to digest food even. It can get so granular, and that's really cool. However, at the end of the day, it's this practical system that's meant to be used. And the way that it's meant to be used is through the body. It's through trusting our bodies to guide us, no matter which seemingly weird way it takes us. And that means that we really do need to give our power over to the body and our control over decision making and allowing opportunities to find us over to the body, who isn't going to let us down, but we are really not used to doing things that way. So we are not conditioned to live that way. And then also the mind does not like when we do that. It is this control freak, right? It wants to keep us up in our heads because it's convinced that it always knows best and that it should be in charge. There really is this fear that we cannot give our power over to the body, or else things are just going to go pear-shaped. And honestly, there are so many fears that can hold us back from getting what we want, but one of the main ones is secretly thinking that like the thing that we want to do, it's not going to work. So of course we're not going to let ourselves do that thing if we don't actually believe in it and think it's going to work. So what happens is that we do want to be doing this thing and we do want to be seeing the results. But the mind is really, really tricky, and it's going to do whatever it can to stop us. And it's also very seductive. That's what they call it in human design. They say the mind is very seductive. So it will do everything it can to like convince us that we are living our designs, but really it's actually just having us think more about it or learn more about it. And that's actually not living it through our bodies. That's just thinking about it. So what happens is we're thinking about what we want and thinking about doing it in a certain way, right? And thinking like, oh, I wish I could do it that way. Or, oh yeah, I'm sure I'm doing it that way because I know the basics. But no, actually, we're just deeply wanting the things and then trying to think our way there, and then not actually taking the actions that align with what our strategy and authority are telling us, or even we're like even listening to our bodies because we're just up here. We're living up here all the time. And then it can be so hard because of that to realize that we're not truly living our designs because it feels like we're in it so much of the time. And this is especially true for people who like to learn a lot about stuff. This can be, I mean, I'm a one line, so I assume that this is the case for a lot of one lines because we're like, I make that sound all the time. It's so gross. but we're like, yummy, give me more information. I want to learn. I want to know all this stuff. But at the end of the day, it's actually about putting this into practice that's going to make the difference. And if we're not doing that, of course, it's not making the difference because we're aware of it. We might be seeing it, but we're not embodying it. And remember, the body is such an important part of this. So the embodiment is the key here. And then on top of that too, outside of human design, when we expect something to not work out, we're just going to keep looking for examples of how it won't work or it can't, and it never does. And we will also be subconsciously pulled into situations that show us this proof that things can't work out for us the way we want to. So we'll be kind of taking actions that set us up for this thing we want, quote unquote want, but don't believe in, to work, to not work. And then, really what we focus on is amplified, and that's just the law of attraction, So if you are focusing on all the resistance, which is, that feeling of like feeling so stuck, not getting the thing I want, feeling bad, then of course you're just going to manifest more opportunities for resistance or just more resistance or feelings of that overall. And in human design, most of the time, for each specific energy type, resistance is going to show up as your not self theme in particular. So for me as a generator, that would be frustration. So if I'm just focusing on all the frustration in my life and how frustrated I am and all my friggin' God, this never works, then I'm inadvertently getting myself into this pattern where I see more and more things that frustrate me, accidentally enter into more things that frustrate me. And it's almost like all I can attract. It's not actually that I can only attract those, but it'll feel like all I can attract are more opportunities that manifest frustration for me. So it can really get us into this cycle, which, we can break out of at any time. I don't want you to feel like, oh no, it's hopeless, I'm stuck in this cycle. But it's this cycle where we think that it's not possible. So we focus on that. And then we just manifest more situations that look like it's not possible or it doesn't work. And then we get deeper and deeper into the poop, or in human design terms, are not self themes. And a reason why people can get so mad about this, which I really understand, is that they think when I'm saying this kind of thing, what I'm really saying is like, you're not trying hard enough, or you don't want it hard enough. You're not really putting in the effort, which is so opposite of what I'm trying to tell you. I'm just really telling you that you're putting your effort in the wrong place. And it's honestly because of fear. So it's not that like you're not a smart person or that you don't want to be doing this. It's just, it's not feeling safe to do that, which is totally understandable. And also what I'll tell you too is I'm not saying that you're dumb for not being able to do this or not having done this. You absolutely are able to do it, right? You're not dumb or bad or not a strong person for having done this yet, because learning how to master our designs is really this lifelong process. It's this lifelong thing. And there are people in all stages of their human design journeys who can realize like, fuck, I have not been doing that recently. No wonder this has been a struggle. I've been doing this forever, right? So it's not just you at all. Like there are people 20 years into this who are like, dang it, not again. So of course it does get much easier, but it's like no one's perfect. And actually, I'd really go so far as to say that it's not. The problem is not being not smart enough. It's actually probably being too smart because people who are very cerebral, what do they tend to do? They tend to stay up in the cerebrum. They tend to stay up in their heads and try to uh, figure things out and think their way through everything. And when it comes to concepts and theories and understanding the world, sure, that's really awesome. But when it comes to making decisions and embodying your design, that can kind of get in the way because the mind will be like, stay up here. Why do I keep making that sound? Oh my God. Has that grossed you guys out yet? Stay up here with me. Don't go down there. That is not smart. That's not going to get us to where we want to be. And like I was saying, like it can be really scary to live our designs, especially at the beginning. Not only is it about relying on the body and intuition, which often doesn't make sense anyway, it's very much not promoted in most cultures, but what our bodies tell us to do can be so different from what we have been trained to believe we should be doing too. So it's not just the listening to the body's part that's the issue. It's that once we listen to the body and it's like, we'll go this way, and we're like, oh, that doesn't sound like a good idea. That's an issue too. So I don't mean that you should be hard on yourself with this at all, because honestly, this is like the most difficult part of human design. It's not learning this stuff. It's not even learning the high level stuff. It's implementing the basics. It's sticking to those and using those. So the sooner you realize that and the sooner you can accept what's going on, then the sooner you can break out of it. When I had an experience with this recently, this is the inspiration for this episode. I met with a very lovely, highly respected, very successful human design teacher and reader and business owner for a coaching session. I was really looking for coaching on why I felt I had stagnated so much. And I was like so deeply in frustration with a lot of things with my business as a pure sacral generator. Basically just wasn't at the level that I wanted to be. And to be honest, I haven't been for a long time. And I was feeling really stuck and like I was just pushing against this like invisible wall around me, you know, like, oh, this is not working. And it's just like got to a point where I was like stamping my feet. Like I get in frustration, like have my own internal temper tantrums of like, this should be working. But in the session, she just kept bringing my attention back to, well, you're a sacral generator. You're here to do what excites you. You're really only meant to focus on the right now. You're also built for a peripheral perspective. For anyone listening, that's an indication that I'm meant for non-specific manifestation, which I don't see very far in the future or see a lot of details about what it is I'm trying to manifest. So she basically said, you know, like, you're not here to see that far ahead or figure things out. So you need to be flowing what feels good with what feels good right now and let that light the way. And I just got so stressed because all I could think was, well, yeah, I'm doing that and it hasn't worked. So what else can I really do here, right? Like I'm at the end of my rope. And I'll be honest, I left the session and I like broke down crying because I was like, what other options do I have here? This is so frustrating. I've really stalled at this point. And it wasn't until about 40 minutes later that I realized, oh no, crap, I have not been doing that. Because when she was saying that stuff to me, actually what came up in my mind wasn't like, yeah, I've been doing that truly. Like I can look in my life where I've been doing all those things and really committing to that. It was like, but I can't because I'm scared and I haven't been able to. So when am I going to be able to actually do the thing? It wasn't that I was doing the thing and it wasn't working. It was that I was just afraid of actually leaning into it. So I have a lot of compassion for anybody who's in that position. But, you know, I wasn't going into it thinking, okay, I'm trusting my body in the moment to lead me to what excites me. I'm going to, you know, wait to respond and not force things. Like these really, really basic things. I'm a human design reader and teacher. Like I know this stuff, right? And even I was at a point where I hadn't been implementing it, probably because I had a plateau and I was like done and had mastered something and wasn't waiting to respond for the next thing. But that led me to a lot of frustration and then kind of like clamping up in fear and then not practicing this actual stuff. So I wanted these outcomes, basically. I wanted to have what I wanted while feeling really good. But I wasn't even like letting myself do the stuff that feels good, which is what our design is drawing us towards. Like it's always going to take us to the stuff that feels really good, but I wasn't doing that. So I was expecting to be able to create what I wanted easily by doing what I felt was fun and good, but I wasn't letting myself do what was fun and good. So of course what I wanted didn't look like it was working out because I wasn't doing it, right? I was just doing the same stuff and like thinking about how I could do it the other way, or like thinking about how I wished I could do it the other way, and actually just looking for all these examples of how that wasn't really possible. And it's just so funny because if you think about it, it's like trying to get somewhere by looking at a car and then not getting in the car or driving it and then going like standing outside and being like, well, looks like this car doesn't work. And it's like, no, Ariana, just get in the car. You can't get to where you want to get through the car if you don't drive the freaking car. And so it was a little bit of an ego hit for me, honestly, but super glad I realized that when I did, because the really, really good news here is that for both of us is that this is the issue here. It's not that you're not doing the basics. That's great news because the basics are usually so freaking simple. And if you're at this point, you know what they are. You've probably even done them a few times. It's just about being a little more consistent with that and really leaning into it at this point. And the basics are not always easy, but yeah, they are simple. So your strategy, your authority, your defined and undefined centers, all of these are the building blocks. And if you know this stuff, then you know the freaking solution. The solution is that you need to just actually live in alignment with that. And the fantastic news about this is that you can do that at any point. It's up to you. There actually is no, this is actually one really amazing thing I pulled from the session with her. She's brilliant. She was like, the reason why there is a block is because you think there's a block. And so you're creating it there, right? Of like, this can't work. So it really just, it starts with us and we get to decide when we do that. And I know, I don't want to make you feel bad if you haven't done it yet, because again, it can be scary. And anyone who is taking the leap in any way, at any level, to use their design, and or even forget about human design, just do things in a way that feels really good to you intuitively and follow what feels so authentically you, and dare to do things differently. That on its own is a really big thing, and I want you to be proud of yourself for that. We just need to like fine tune some things and change your focus of where you're putting your energy and what you're believing in. Another really cool thing to know as well is that you can look at all the stuff before now as this like blank slate. You don't even have to use that as a history lesson. You don't, well, I mean, unless it's like, well, I'm not doing that anymore. But you don't have to look at this as any evidence, right? That you can't do things in a way that feels good to you. Like, oh, look at it didn't work. Look at all the times that didn't work, because technically you actually haven't given it a chance to work, really, if we're being honest. So if you want somewhere to start with this, I'll leave you with this. Wherever you are feeling really stuck and like you're not seeing results and you're really frustrated and, oh my God, this isn't working, it's never panned out. Yes, ask yourself, like, am I following my strategy and authority? That's always fantastic, because that takes you back to how you entered into this thing and you can know if you were doing it correctly. And oftentimes, I mean, if we're not following a design, then the answer is like, oh, no, not doing that. But you can also just ask yourself at any point, honestly, am I doing this in a way that lights me up and makes me happy, if that's what I'm looking to do? Because when we are following our designs, truly, that is the signpost. That's the signpost that we feel good doing this thing. And then if you're going like, no, I'm not doing that, I want you to then ask yourself, well, what if I could? And more than that, what if I should? What if that is what I am supposed to do? And that's the path to getting to what I want, or that's how I open up this path for this thing to come to me. And then see how that shifts how you would approach this. You don't have to do anything right now. At least doing this is going to give you clarity, and it's going to show you like where you could be doing this more. And that's going to help a lot on its own. And actually, I want to leave you with one last thing, because this is an episode on embodiment, and that was a very mental exercise. But what I have to tell you is that the main problem, like I said here, is that you're thinking about this too much and you can't think your way through your design. This is about how you use the body as a vehicle. It's not how you think about the body being a vehicle, right? And so whatever you can do, I know this sounds so simple, but please, I wish I had really used this before instead of just saying, yeah, okay, sounds nice. Whatever you can do to get into the body and feel very safe in the body and just relax into it, and free the mind from that a little bit, the better. if you meditate, if you do yoga, if you run, if you surf, if you just do what I do, which is literally imagining my awareness dropping down into my body and getting out of the shitstorm in my head, whatever you can do is going to be so valuable and so helpful, because it is through this, it is our true vehicle, it is our car, and we got to get in the car to actually use it. We can't just be staring at it and looking at it and thinking like, why won't you go? So if we can bring back this car metaphor, I want you to think of your body as a very high-end, high-tech car, like a Model S Tesla. I think they're called Model S's. My friend has a Tesla, by the way. It's named Tina the Tesla. I'm pretty sure that's a Model S. But if you can think of this car where it has this like very, very accurate GPS, and literally all you have to do is get in the car, say, oh, I'll go here. And the car's like, awesome. I know the fastest way to do that. And because I'm a Tesla, the ride's going to be super smooth and the easiest way possible. So all you have to do is just let it take you there, right? I mean, you got to drive it, you got to be willing to do that. But as long as you follow the car's directions, then it's going to get you there as quickly as possible, because this destination is where you are supposed to be. The destination being the thing you want to manifest or have come to you. The reason you want that is because you're meant to be there. You're meant to have the car take you there, or have the car bring it to you. No, that's not right. But have you and the thing meet up. This metaphor is breaking down. But what happens for so many of us is we don't even get in Tina the Tesla, or if we do, we're like, you know what? I'm actually going to first print out these step-by-step instructions from MapQuest, because I would really like to know the entire way that I'm going to get there. I'd like to see it all laid out in front of me. And and so even though Tina says this is the best way for me to get there, I'm not going to be paying attention to it. And when she says take a left, I'm not going to be very present about that, because I'm thinking about this MapQuest direction set that does not take into account the changing traffic or weather patterns or any of that stuff. But I'm going to do it because I feel like I have the control, and I am seeing it and I'm thinking it. And oh, do I love to think, right? But if we were just literally present with the car, I'm going to keep saying present with Tina. If we were just present with Tina in the moment, even if she only gave us moment to moment directions on where to go, which by the way isn't true for everyone. Everyone's design is different. So some people see things like a little bit further in ahead of time. But even if we were just like present with her, then she would take us to exactly where we need to be, and we wouldn't really need to be thinking about it so much. So anyway, that's it for me today. This is a shorter one. I hope this helped. It's something that really, really made an impact for me. And it was just, I really, really wanted to share it because I think it's so important. And as always, you rock. I believe in you. You have got this. And I will talk to you next time.